this June the 9th,
Yes.
2023. And my watch is telling me just that. Wow. Time for a crowdcast.
It is.
Oh, what are we doing today, Phil?
It says up there that we're doing advanced acceptance and commitment therapy and training, FC, functional contextual, and RFT, relational frame theory.
There we go. We're going to talk a little about that.
Right.
We have a couple of people online with us, and I hope more people. Hey, Jasmine's back.
Hello, Jasmine.
And first order of business in the lower right part of your screen, if you're on a computer, you can chat in and say hi and where you're from, which is way cool. You can also tell us what you know about ACT or what you want to know about it. Smokey. Yeah. And what else we got? Oh, in the upper right up there somewhere, you can follow us.
I'm not sure I can do that anymore. I don't see a follow button.
Well, somehow they do because the
people are following. I think they're following once they sign up.
I don't know how they do. I don't know how they
find
do
that
it.
follow button. It used to be up there on the upper right.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it now, but
they do follow. You guys do follow us because you show up.
If you see a thing to follow us, do so, please.
Oh,
green. Oh, so they're seeing.
You see it. We don't see it. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you. Eddie O'Connor, and of course we offer courses.
We do.
More and more are getting there, but now there's a load of 3-hour CE courses and a 6-hour, and we're doing a PTSD live event. And that's you click the green button, you will see all of those.
And we'll be sending something out about the live event as a reminder. But that's July the 14th, folks. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 12.
Now we have one person signed up already, so hopefully some more people sign up. You get 3 CEUs, and you get a more in-depth look at things and what we can do on one of these crowdcasts. And there's several people online now. Oh, cool. Hey, so check in. Say
all right. Yeah. Eddie's checked in. Thank you, Eddie.
Hello from Hershey.
Hey, Kirsten.
Kirsten from Hershey.
Yeah. Smokey out in Hershey too, or not? I don't think you have the same smoke I have.
We missed it up here in Maine.
Yeah, you guys, you're in good shape. There's Erin days ago. Okay,
From South Florida. Wow, cool. And in the chat, you can tell us what you want to know about.
Oh, UK. All right.
From the UK, right? You like because Phil and I are in the business of creating courses.
Yeah. And,
so if we want to do courses people are interested in,
you have a hankering for something, chat in, let us know.
Right. I mean, if you don't see it over on the website.
Yeah.
We have introductory over there now, couples and groups, such. Anxiety and depression, PTSD and substance. Plus our live event. So anyway. Hello from Chicago. Oh, Dina from Chicago. And so is everybody here? It seems like a chatty bunch.
Yeah.
You're here to find out about functional contextualism and RFT, a little more advanced look at acceptance and commitment training and therapy. That's funny.
Jazz was asked about a recognition book.
Are we working on that, Phil?
Well, we when the APA stuff showed up on our horizon here, Jasmine, we made a left turn to APA courses. So it's there, and we were working on it. We had not completed it yet, so it needs some cleaning up.
So we will do that.
Yep.
We're getting well into the courses and having them developed. That's good. Any other, what do people, gosh, I wish you could chat in. What do you know about functional contextualism and relational frame theory? The act stuff is so boring. Oh, no. Well, Jasmine, just for you, we'll throw in a little pattern recognition.
Yeah, we could do that. It's our crowdcast.
I can throw in pattern recognition anytime.
Absolutely. Actually, in the courses, we do put some pattern recognition into our courses that we've been doing, right, Kevin?
Yeah, we did. We mentioned it because, well, we would be remiss not to. Because
it's right there.
I mean, the story goes, folks, a little bit. And if you're new and if you're not new, well, just listen to me again. And I was looking for a simple way to show quickly engaged clients in the ACT processes and quickly trained students. Students meaning pre-doctoral and postdoctoral trainees at the APA approved site that I was at. So the matrix showed up. Took a lot of work, but the matrix showed up. So we started doing the matrix, and it worked really well. I mean, it just worked well. And obviously we sit here these 11, 14 years later, and it's still working well. So along the way, we noticed that, well, that was a pattern. And especially when we started doing duck loops on one side and then asking people the time question.
Time, yeah.
They were noticing a pattern.
They were all over that.
And so unconsciously, people correct the pattern. That's why.
Seek balance.
So, there's articles about psychological influence. And I read one recently, and I've seen it before. They were sending folks into they were sending an experiment. Here was the experiment, clever experiment. Send somebody out to ask for people's phone numbers, which is crazy. You don't give anybody their phone number. Stupid. Well, they didn't, except when the person was standing in front of a flower shop.
Yeah.
And standing in front of the flower shop, more people actually gave this person their telephone number. Now, what the heck? I mean, it wasn't like they were verbally saying, I am now standing in front of a flower shop. So therefore, the stranger that comes by and asks for my number, I should give it to them.
Yeah.
Just betting that line of thinking did not come to their mind. No, it was there. It was in the context. So the flower shop was in the context, the person asking. And of course, flower shops have romance. That's what the people figure. It was triggering the receiver's romance stuff.
Ooh, the warm fuzzies.
So they became more likely to give it. Well, it's just an example of all the stuff that goes on with us humans that we don't think about. It's outside of our conscious awareness. And pattern recognition is one of those things. And you don't read letters on a screen and think, gee, I'm doing pattern recognition. Do that. You just read.
Never occurred to me.
Read the words, that's unless you ever hear the pattern recognition, then you may not ever know anything about it whatsoever. But humans use it unconsciously all the time.
They are masters.
Right. So when you're showing people the matrix, it's a pattern. So they do things, you can use it. Now, I'm sure it can be used for bad. All swords cut both.
Oh, yeah.
So but we endeavor to use it for good. So that's the pattern recognition. And we figured out that we could just set up the pattern, get that going, and then go on about our business, and it worked just fine.
It's been,
However, there's this large number of people who want to learn about ACT proper. And so we can show Jasmine and others how the ACT lingo goes,
back up a bit.
but all because we're using the matrix, the pattern recognition is going to show up.
Goes on top of it.
It will just, and so it's in all of our courses because it keeps showing up.
Yep.
That's why.
It's-
But
it's-
today, I mean, whether you're talking about pattern recognition or not, or whatever, the philosophical underpinnings of ACT, I think it's seldom talked about, but it's extraordinarily important. I don't know. What do you think, Jasmine, or anybody out there? I mean, the philosophy behind it, the stance behind what you're doing, turns out to be very important. So they built it on top of they being Steve Hayes, others, on top of a way of looking at things, especially the scientific method way of looking at things. And so, man, anybody know, everybody heard of functional contextualism, FC, RFT, anything? You can type in, and I mean,
Yeah.
if you haven't,
Oh, Guadalajara.
I wonder if they've heard of functional contextualism in Guadalajara.
Have you heard about that down there? Come across it?
Everybody's silent. I think when you bring up terms like this, it scares the heck out of people.
Yeah, right. The old amygdala starts going off.
That's the other thing, folks. Phil and I really don't deal with humans. We just deal with amygdala.
We just picture amygdalas out there in front of us.
That makes things a lot easier. Now we know that something like this frightens the amygdala.
Yep.
Whatever. Nobody jumping on. So functional contextualism was originally, that's what the matrix was first created for. I was supposed to be going to do a presentation, colloquia, I think they call them, to some students, and they wanted me. I was specifically asked to present on functional contextualism. Great. So I started playing around and came up with the vertical line representing the context. Functional contextualism. So contextual context is that. So the vertical line was the context line. And then the horizontal line was the function line. And even back then, I knew that the basic function, and of course, I was presenting to a technical audience. So over on the right, I had positive reinforcement. And over on the left, I had negative reinforcement. And people that I was presenting to could probably get the question right and know the difference between positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, which is positive reinforcement, you get something, you obtain something, whereas with negative reinforcement, you get rid of something that feels bad. Bill and I say yucky.
Yep.
And so if you're talking about a rat experiment, over on the right side, they get a food pellet for doing something. Over on the left side, they get to escape from an electric shock, let's say, by pressing a lever. Okay. Right side, press lever, get food. Left side, I'm being shocked. Press lever, shock goes away. Doesn't take them any time at all to learn, press that lever. Okay. So here, that was the two basic functions that I knew was going on. Oh, she's here. Cool. And so that was it. So now, by the way, I never gave the presentation. There was a blizzard here in Maine that canceled it. So I ran across it some months later and went, oh my goodness, that's where I came up with the matrix. Meaning I had plagiarized my own work unconsciously. I didn't really recall creating that. But that's so now you see that's the underlying point of view of ACT, which is it is a person noticing the function of their behavior in context. Okay. So that's what ACT is about. It's that you will notice your behaviors in context. Now, context is a little tricky because it combines both your external stuff that's going on and your internal. And that's why the vertical line has 5 senses experiencing at the top and mental experiencing at the bottom, because you're behaving within a mix up of all of that context. And if you think, oh, what's he talking about? Think about you get up in the morning and you got up on the, in quotes, wrong side of the bed. Okay.
Yep.
So we've all had days like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did it today.
And now you go throughout your day, from your house to your car to your work, whatever, all the while. So each one of those contexts is a fresh context. But I got out of bed on the, I got out on the wrong side of the bed. Well, that's going with you everywhere you go. But it's a context. So all your behaviors are occurring in both of those. And so you are going to notice how you behave in context. Okay. And eventually you're going to state where you wanted to go. Okay. So where do I want my behaviors to take me? Writ large, I mean, in life. So we'll say in life, where do I want my behaviors to take me in life? You state that up front, and then you notice if the behaviors, all behaviors, positive reinforcement behaviors and negative reinforcement behaviors, all behaviors, are they working to get you where you want to go in life? Okay. That is functional contextualism. That's what it is. So ACT is built on top of that, meaning you state a direction. Now, Steve Hayes and others decided to call those values. So the long-term, way out in the distance stuff were called values. Okay. And then one could notice in the long term what worked for getting to the values. Now, they fully well knew that stuff could show up and get in the way, and that became the stuff of diffusion and stuff of that. And that actually launches us into RFT. So, so before we launch into RFT, just get that. So you'll notice that there's nothing about fixing anything.
No fix here.
There's no fix in that. There's a lot of noticing your own behaviors in context, and then noticing if they're working to get you where you want to go in life. That's it. Okay. So here's what you'll do. And if you do noticing and you're honest with yourself, you're fully open to the present moment, as they say, you will notice behaviors that work and keep them. And you'll notice behaviors that don't work and you'll toss them. That's the learning model.
That's it.
That's it. It's built on that very simple learning model that you will keep the behaviors that work to get you where you want to go in life, and you will toss the behaviors, stop doing the behaviors that aren't working to get you where you want to go. The problem is that many of us as humans aren't so good at noticing the consequences of our behavior.
Oh, there's the rub.
Yeah. And that led to the quotes, why do humans persist in doing things that don't work? Right. Well, because they're not noticing that they don't work. Not on an experiential level. I mean, they may be able to verbalize it, but on an experiential, like you learn not to touch hot stove lids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Experiential learning, you're not doing it. You're not in the present moment, so you're not learning what works and what doesn't work. And so you're just not. So now here we go. That's what do you need for that? Well, ACT has a whole division called Showing Up to the Present Moment that has a bunch of mindfulness exercises.
Oh, yes.
So you show up to the present moment so you can notice what works to get you where you want to go in life. That's what it's for, folks. It's not for and I'm
Yep.
just,
Mindfulness for a purpose.
it's mindfulness for a purpose, and the purpose is so that you're open to the technical term is contingencies. The contingencies of your behaviors, you're open to noticing the direct contingencies of your behavior, and then you can keep them, the ones that work, and toss the ones that don't. And really, that needs to become an unconscious process.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about that.
It's not a verbal analysis.
And it's the same as, like, the better example is learning to ride a bicycle. When you first get on a bicycle, you can't think about all the mechanics.
And you're doing while you're riding the bike.
No, you just won't ever learn to ride the bicycle. You got to let go and let your body
Show up, present moment.
your entire body learn how to ride that bicycle.
Move.
You won't get it through verbal analysis. Well, it's the same when learning what behaviors work and don't work. It's not done on a verbal analysis. It's done by learning. That doesn't mean you're not analyzing it. You just don't hear the words. You don't hear it. The analysis is taking place in what's known, what Daniel Kahneman, who wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, it's the fast stuff. And it's so darn fast that you
Whizzes right by you.
Whizzes right by you, right? And it's the slow stuff that we all think is, well, your mind tells you it's king of the universe. My slow thinking is so wonderful and so valuable.
I'm in charge here.
Yeah. And it's not by any stretch. So it's a learning model. It's a big old learning model. It's what it is. It's just you want to. Maybe you had a high school psychology class and you learned about learning. Maybe you went to university, and most people take at least a Psych 101, and you learned a little bit about that stuff. Now, you might promptly have forgotten about it, but ACT folks did not.
Yeah, they paid attention to that stuff.
And the big thing is that since it's not looking to fix anything, it's not like many other even talk therapies who want to fix your thoughts or fix your emotions.
Or restructure things.
Restructure, exactly. All those kinds of words that philosophically would be called mechanistic look. And you'll see pictures of human, especially the brain, with cogs and wheels and stuff in it and things. And it's just not that. It's functional contextual. So it's not that. So now when people cognitive CBT was based on cognitive behavioral therapy, it's mechanistic. For that matter, Freud's psychoanalysis is mechanistic.
Oh yeah.
It's a hydraulic model. Hydraulics were popular back in the day, and they figured that the paralysis, neuro something paralysis,
Hysterical paralysis.
hysterical, that was it. Hysterical paralysis was caused by a buildup of pressures between the id, ego, and superego, and that pressure got released.
To be vented.
Catharsis.
Yes.
Then
Big time.
things would be better. So it's a hydraulic model. So it's, even that was relying on the steam engine stuff of the day and the mechanisms of the day. So this stuff is much more akin to Darwin's evolutionary model, really, where traits are kept if they work, keep the organism alive in the environment, and traits that don't work, well, it dies off, and those don't keep on going. Well, this is a behavioral look, but within a human lifespan, where you're keeping behaviors that work for where you want to go in life and tossing behaviors that don't work. So it's an evolution of your own life as you
Over time.
So it's about getting people into that process. It's easy peasy, folks. We all just are born and we do that. That's a total lie. No, they don't. We have this thing, and here we go. Now we get it. Now we have this thing called language. And boy, doesn't that muck up the works.
Yeah.
Now, initially it doesn't, because you're using the same learning model to learn language, right? So no, you don't have an instruction manual for learning language. No, you learn it by trial and error, thousands upon thousands of them. There's actually some very interesting, over years, stop action video kind of stuff that's taken over years as a child develops language. And seeing it in real time, you don't see it, but sped up, you can see as they make a sound and then make another sound that's a little bit closer, and a little sound that's closer.
Successive approximation.
Successive approximations to the goal. And finally they say mom.
Yep.
But mom didn't start off as mom. It started off as bleh, and eventually evolved to mom. See, my mouth opens like that. So the mouth opening is there. It's just the vocalizations weren't there. So anyway, you learn how to talk with good old-fashioned keep what works and discard what doesn't work. And then I got it. I got language. Great. And now here comes RFT, relational frame theory. Because relational frame theory says that it just shows how both five senses experiencing of, let's say, mom, and your emotional, inside yourself experiencing of mom. I mean, the human mom, not the sound, but it gets internalized into mom, so that later on when you say mom, all this stuff shows up. Maybe the scent of mom shows up, the touch
of mom,
right.
the smell, the feel,
of course, the emotions, whatever.
Sounds.
And most, I think, for a whole lot of people, those are positive. But then they made this movie called Mommy Dearest about not so positive stuff framed onto mom. And they call it framing, relational framing. So as this information is framed onto or fused onto mom, now it moves inside of you. So now you can think of mom and that will influence your behavior. That's the rub of it. Of that now your language is starting to influence your behavior. And you may have, I don't know if anybody here is with us is you've had the experience of talking yourself out of doing something. Anybody ever done that? Like you're going to do something.
Yep.
How about exercising in the morning? Have you ever talked yourself out of it? You fully meant to, but your mind got a hold of you and convinced you that that wasn't a necessary thing to do. Apparently not. I know Jasmine took.
Yesterday, I think that happened to me.
I'm just using an example of what could happen because here you go, folks. There's a whole lot of research that says
Dina says, "Oh yeah."
that just moderate. I mean, we're talking a 15-minute walk or something is really good for you. I'm not saying that you'll lose a bunch of weight or anything. I'm not saying that. Emotionally, we know it's good for you. You know, physically, over time, they can measure in people that spend at least 15 minutes a day walking live longer when you measure, aggregate all the data. So, I mean, the jury's unanimous in, hey, well, it's good for you. Okay, you know that. And then your mind talks you out of it.
I'm too tired.
I don't have time.
Yeah, it's too hot out. It's too cold.
I mean, this is it's your mind. Okay. Well, why? Because it's powerful, because all of those words have now developed this emotional impact. So RFT goes about showing how words develop meaning through fusion. They call it fusion in the relational frame. Forget it. Don't worry about that. But now you hear the word and you respond. So I'm too tired. When you say the word tired shows up inside of you, even more so. And
Oh yeah.
the more you say it, the more tired you get, and
I'll
it doesn't take very many repetitions that you really are just too darn tired to go take a walk. So you sit down and watch Captain Kangaroo or whatever's on in the morning. I have a pretty low opinion of TV, so I think they're pretty well all equivalent of Captain Kangaroo. But anyways, that's what happens. And so they were showing, how language can end up making you miserable. Is it and you're playing all of it in your head. The misery's in your head. I mean, you got a person living in a nice house with plenty of food, plenty of water, everything they need, and they're sitting there miserable. And from the observer, there's no reason for him to be miserable. And you ask, well, why are you miserable? Well, because I'm thinking about whatever. It's basically I'm miserable because I'm thinking. And that's act. That's it. So meaning thinking's language, internal language. So language is the problem. So theories of language usually were really good at explaining how people develop language. Okay. What ACT relied on an RFT they developed with RFT was that they showed, okay, this is a way people develop language, and we can develop a way to take some of the sting off of language. And that's what you do with RFT. So ACT is working, especially the let go aspects, that is diffusion and acceptance, are working to lessen the impact of your internal dialogue. And for that matter, the external dialogue, when somebody says something that hooks you. They call you a one-eyed purple people eater or something. Them's fighting words. Now I'm hooked. And in that hook state, there's precious little good that's going to happen in terms of learning behaviors that work and don't work. Not going to happen.
Yep, out the window.
It's all gone, right? So we humans, because of language and because we have our own little internal talk box that you wake up and boom,
Yep.
it's on. Just instantly. And I will admit, folks, I pick on exercise because I manage to exercise almost every day. And almost every day I wake up and start talking myself out of it.
Yeah. Here's all the reasons why I'm not going to do that today.
Yeah. Now, I'm lucky in that I've managed to set up a routine that I go ahead and do it, but that doesn't negate that I wake up and start convincing myself I don't want to do it. And it don't give me no breaks. I mean, I wake up and it's just right away. It's like a pain in the ass. And of course, that's what it is. It's a pain. And so the Buddhists had it that language was the trouble. That was trouble with things. So here comes the diffusion and acceptance of act. Okay. And so the diffusion is, well, if a words or a phrase of words is particularly hooky, let's say, it hooks you a lot, just sort of stops you in your tracks, well, diffuse it. Right? One way is good old-fashioned exposure therapy. Say the word over and over again, expose yourself to it lots, talk about it a lot, and it loses its strength. There's one way of doing it. The other is to, and here comes frame theory, add flexible frames. Well, how do I add a flexible frame to it? Well, in ACT, the most familiar one you'll hear about is metaphors. Oh, that reminds me of a story. And that story is going to add flexible frames to the language that that was keeping the person stuck. So it's from RFT that we get our diagnosis, the one and only diagnostic category of ACT, which is stuck.
That's all we use.
That's it. All of ACT is only one. It's stuckness. Everybody is stuck. If you have language, you're stuck.
Yeah. There's varying levels of stuckness that you go throughout the day.
Right. So there's nobody that has language gets a free ride of stuckness because you need to be stuck on the language in order for it to have meaning. If it comes a point, well, if there was no stickiness at all, you wouldn't have language. Nobody would have language.
Nope.
So you're a little bit stuck anyway, and we've all done it. I've done it. You tell yourself not to be anxious, and now you're more anxious. So now you tell yourself not to be anxious again, and you get more anxious. And you in a matrix. We're doing a matrix thing. Show them the matrix, folks.
That would be.
This is the pattern. And here we go, Jasmine. Here's the pattern.
Yeah, here we go.
People love seeing this. They say, "Oh, anxiety showed up." Well, how do you deal with anxiety? We're going to do an internal loop now. It's going to be inside. Well, internally, I think don't be anxious.
Oh,
So that's actually inside in the lower left, and we've all done that. You tell yourself without even verbalizing it. You tell yourself, "Don't be anxious."
yeah. Just think it.
And of course, that just works like a charm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah, works like a charm to make you more anxious. And so, and you end up spinning down in your mind, trying to get rid of something that's naturally occurring. And with those words, I just brought in acceptance. Because if anxiety is naturally occurring, I'm a step closer to just accepting anxiety. And if I accept it, then I can let go of the struggle, meaning that internal dialogue. Now, we can also do external ones where, you know, anxiety shows up. I think I am anxious. So now there's the words. I'll go take a drink. Now I can see it drinking. So, so that goes up top. You know, drink. Does it work? Hell yeah. Works great.
That's great. Quiets the crowd.
Does it work forever? No.
Uh,
Back, yeah. Zoom. Here comes the loop. And that's what we're doing with these loops. You loop around as you, and there's a fancy term in that called the unworkable change agenda, meaning you're trying to get it to change and it won't change because of that loop. People love seeing those loops, by the way. Oh, like, oh yeah, I'm familiar.
they say that's me.
That's me. Yeah, well, it's everybody. We all do those loops. But now when Phil holds it back up, pattern.
See it?
Pattern. That's the pattern. You know. So now your mind sees a pattern, the stuck loop pattern.
Ooh, yes.
Now you can feel the stuck loop pattern.
Ooh, I feel
Now
that.
you don't have to go into a stuck loop to feel the pattern.
Nope. It's here.
It's just there. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what we're trying to do. So, and even the pattern adds a flexible frame. Remember RFT adding flexible frames? So you'll just add flexibility to the old stuck loop pattern. You know, maybe Dina has gotten rid of all of her stuck loops.
Ooh, she could be one of the lucky ones.
Never to return.
Vanished. On.
That's it. You're like one of them TV preachers. Vanished.
Yeah. Laid the hands on and that's it. You're healed.
Gone forever. Anybody had that where you've gotten rid of all of your stuck loops? Don't have any times in your life when you spin your wheels? Apparently so. They're afraid to. I mean,
They're pondering. They're pondering.
You know, people they do. They don't get rid of their stuck loops.
No, they'll say it gets worse. That's what they'll tell me.
But so the acceptance process would be acceptance, you have stuck loops. And then the next point is, well, notice your stuck loops.
Oh, cool.
Notice why you're having them. And eventually you can notice if the stuck loops work to get you where you want to go in life. And at no point did you tell yourself or anybody else to stop having stuck loops. Because guess what? It doesn't work to tell yourself to stop having stuck loops. It doesn't work. But on an internal basis, you can get to where you'll let go of some of that struggle, what it's called, letting go of the struggle, let go of the struggle. And now you're not spending so much time in the stuck loop. And if you're not spending so much time in the stuck loop, now you have more time to discover behaviors that work to get you where you want to go in life. It's that simple model. It's gorgeously simple. It's just not easy to do on a day-to-day basis. So that's what you're doing with acceptance and commitment training and therapy. Training aspect is you're taking it to a business or something, and you're talking to them about the let go, show up, get moving process. In therapy, they're sort of by definition more stuck. And so, but still, same process: let go, show up, get moving, and it's all based on ultimately the person getting where they want to go in life. So that process is functional contextualism. Noticing behaviors that work, keep them. Noticing behaviors that don't work, toss them. And without your mind, you'd be really good at it.
Yep.
Your mind just steps in the way of it all the damn time. Mine does. So.
We're all guilty.
Because the richness of language, it just gets you.
Oh, there's so much going on down here all the
You,
time.
you think of stuff, or you watch a movie, or you listen to somebody else talk, and it just hits your heart, pulls you in directions and stuff, and just yanks you right out of that ability to notice behaviors that work and don't work.
Yep.
And it just pulls you out of that. Where the idea, like with mindfulness, what's it called? Diffuse attention?
Yes.
Is that it? A
Yeah.
diffuse attention?
Diffuse attention.
Right. So you're actually very aware,
Yeah.
but it's diffuse.
You're spreading it out. You're expanding your awareness.
Like Michael Jordan on the basketball.
Seeing
You can see
seeing the
the,
I call it seeing the field.
seeing the field, seeing the whole thing. So that's what you're going for in with mindfulness in ACT, so that you get this diffuse awareness. And in that, there's a lot of alpha brain waves associated
Oh,
with that.
definitely. Yeah, they've hooked people up and they've measured it.
Right. And that's
Getting
also, well, a good where you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
That diffuse state of awareness. That's the point of mindfulness. The problem is you don't really learn anything sitting in a chair being mindful. Why? Because you ain't doing nothing but sitting in a chair being mindful.
Just mindfulness for the sake of mindfulness.
Yeah. You got to be out moving around. and here we go. It's like the walking mindfulness. Well, that's closer.
Yeah.
Now at least you're walking.
Yep.
And but really, it's to be somewhat mindful, that is, have diffuse awareness in your walking everyday life. And in that state, you will learn what works, what doesn't work. That diffuse state of awareness is the practice.
Over and over and over.
Do the matrix many, 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 many times.
Yes.
And each one of those minis was 1,000.
1,000.
So
Sensei says.
it takes a lot of practice where you get to where you're using that. But what are you doing when you get that diffuse awareness? You're doing functional contextualism. What is called functional contextualism? You're learning behaviors that work in context to get you where you want to go in life. And you've stated where you want to go in life.
Yep.
You don't get to just wander around and find places and go, oh, this is just where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
That's not the nature of it. You actually
Up to.
state your direction. And then the other is that you notice the impact of language and you let go of it.
Yep.
You just let go of it.
So Eddie's asked, so you are against mindful sitting practices?
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
Absolutely not.
I'm just saying that if you do that, you're not setting yourself up for learning as you move.
Right.
So if you're sitting and well, I used to do that mindfulness stuff.
No, I did that. Yeah.
I used to.
Yep.
But it's okay. But it really doesn't translate into moving around. I mean, I guess if you practiced it enough,
Yeah.
but I don't know. The trick, and this is what we did with all of our clients and have done with all of our clients, is to get them noticing in real time. I mean,
As they were acting in the world.
right, as you're moving about, acting in the world, you're mindfully doing that.
Right.
Now, the word they use in ACT is noticing.
Right.
You're
And-
noticing.
And that's now in each context, bringing it back to functional contextual. So everywhere you go, you're moving into and out of different contexts.
And I'm noticing as I move.
And moving in and out. Right.
And I'm noticing as my internal state changes. I'm noticing. Nobody's perfect at it, but in that presence of
Right.
that constant noticing, I'm more likely to learn. But think about it. Okay, and this is sort of what we're talking about. Sit there and mindfully think about learning how to ride a bicycle.
Mm.
Or you probably already know how to ride a bike, so something you don't know how to do. Then you sit and meditate on it. You can meditate on it till the cows come home. It's not going to make a hill of beans of difference.
Closer to bike riding.
Find a biker. Doing whatever complicated thing you need to learn. It's not mindfulness that gets you there. So that's what. So if you can figure out how to take mindfulness practices and move them into real life, fine. The problem we had more so with mindfulness was the populations of people that we worked with.
Yeah.
I worked with Vietnam veterans who had a ton of substance abuse problems, PTSD and substance problems. Phil had ne'er-do-well teenagers.
Who
One
were
step out of
on the
jail.
skids, one step away from jail or dropping out or worse.
And those populations, when you said, oh, let's do a mindfulness practice, you could hear the whooshing sound as they were.
Right.
And so that standard act shtick of, oh, we're going to sit here and do a mindfulness practice, you are just losing literally the majority of your clientele. So checked out on you.
Yeah.
Never to
But they
return.
wouldn't do it.
So now you can take that somewhere else, and maybe the majority of people would go, oh, isn't this wonderful? Let's practice mindfulness. Okay, great. But ours would not. So we had to.
Yeah, like you were on a retreat somewhere. Cool. We're all doing mindfulness.
Right, but we couldn't use it on a day-to-day basis that way.
Not going to work in my setting.
So now the matrix takes care of it on its own. So we ended up not needing to focus on it at all because
it's everyday mindfulness, we call it. That's really
Right.
everyday mindfulness, street level mindfulness, I guess is probably.
street level mindfulness. That's what you do. So you do develop a mindful awareness. They absolutely do.
Oh, no doubt.
We are not in, that's necessary. Absolutely. But we just don't get there. We did not get there, and we do not get there with sitting mindfulness techniques. That's not how we approach doing it. So and we don't do it for ourselves either. I do it all the time with beekeeping. I'm a beekeeper, by the way.
Yeah.
I do it less well with guitars.
Yeah, playing the accordion, it's a hard.
Sometimes I get into it. Beekeeping, I'm pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm pretty solid with my mindful, diffuse awareness stuff. Comes in handy for spotting queens and stuff, if you're familiar. So anyway, we're not. So that's our only. So our problem was that, and our populations just don't like it. They didn't like that, so we didn't do it. So we switched to noticing, and it was part of the matrix. And they were fine.
And it worked out just fine. Yep.
Worked out really well. So anyway, so that's what you're doing. So now you see the whole idea of ACT. So it's show up, or what is it? Let go, show up, get moving, however you want to say it. So the let go part of it was letting go of language.
The struggle.
The struggle, letting go of the struggle with language. That's what it is. Pure and simple, folks. Letting go of your struggle with language. Both, mostly your internal dialogue.
Right.
To a lesser extent, crap that people say to you that get you hooked. But you're much better at hooking yourself.
Well, I'm a card carrying expert at it.
And you get hooked, and once you get hooked, now you're in a different world. You're in the hook world.
Yep. Present moment gone. Moving, nope.
You're not in a position to learn what works to get you where you want to go. So the first idea, let go of that struggle with language. Now I'm more apt to be present. Now you can practice mindfulness or whatever, or do the stuff we do, but you show up to the present moment. And then what am I doing that for?
Yeah.
No, to learn what works and doesn't work for getting me moving to where I want to go in life.
The life I want to live.
Right.
Who I want to be.
Let go, show up, get moving. It's that simple. it's like many things in life, extraordinarily simple and extraordinarily
And
hard.
devilishly difficult to pull off.
It is definitely chewing gum and writing
Yeah,
a
rubbing
book,
your belly and playing the
writing a
guitar
book,
and right,
spinning a
right.
plate. It's sort of
Yeah.
a lot of stuff because of language and our fast-paced human lives. We really got a lot of complicated stuff going on, and it shows up and busts up that learning work, just busts it up. So you wake up, and a year later, you're doing the same things.
Okay.
You haven't changed anything because you're too caught up in the gyrations of life.
Yep.
We've all done it. I mean, you do it. So what you're doing with acceptance and commitment training, you're doing it with yourself or with other people, is acknowledging that internal dialogue. You don't try and get rid of it. You just let go of the struggle with it.
Yeah.
That's why they say let go. It's let go of the struggle. And in ACT, they have this dropping the rope exercise.
Right. Oh, I like that.
But in family therapy, we used to say, put your lightsaber down.
Yes. I used the rope in family therapy too, as I recall.
Yeah, but
Crisis training. Yeah, it's a good one.
notice, let go of the rope, let go of the lightsaber, let go.
Sit down, back away from it, whatever. Right.
It's let go of the struggle, but you accept that whatever was causing the internal struggle is there.
It's still around.
It's not going anywhere. It's
Having
not
around inside of you. It's okay.
right. It's not right. You just accept that. Okay, now that I've dropped the struggle, that I accept that, now I'm ready to learn what works to get me where I want to go in life. Oh crap, where do I want to go in life? Well, there you go.
Where all this stuff showed up.
All right, but where do you want to go in life? Well, I'm not sure. Well, we can talk about that.
That's great.
Right. And that's fine. We can talk about that. Then you get a general sort of kind of idea where you want to go in life. And then you do behaviors and notice if they work and keep the ones that work and discard the ones that don't.
Practice.
If we were all 2-3-year-olds, we'd be doing that.
Oh man, they pick stuff up. They're like little sponges. They just pick everything up.
Learn to walk, they learn to talk, they learn to all this stuff.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Because they don't have the struggle with language, internal struggle showing up. So it's a gorgeous model, but that's FC and RFT. So FC shows us, that learning what works, get you where you want to go in life. Philosophy of ACT, which is not about fixing things. And then RFT just shows you how your internal dialogue, for that matter, what other people say, hook you.
Oh yeah, dialogue inside, dialogue outside.
Now, the advertising industry can hook you. They're really good at it.
All those messages coming at us all the time.
Yeah, even those people, they'll learn to ask you questions in front of a flower shop.
Do right.
You won't even
How about those people, huh?
You won't even know what hit you. Those
Yeah.
dastardly suckers.
Next thing you know, your credit card's coming out and all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah, you ever bought something you're like, what the hell did I buy that for? Well,
Get it home and you go, wait a minute, I don't need
yeah,
this.
you may well have been placed into a context by salespeople that increased the probability that you would buy something. It's all unconscious. So, rough world out there, huh? However, you can accept it and laugh it off, But in the end, it is about learning what works. And to learn what works, you got to behave. And that's the rub with mindfulness, because you're learning what works to sit there.
While you're sitting in that
Right.
context.
Not moving.
This is not about acting.
This is about active. But that's why they chose ACT.
Yeah,
The term
about acting.
It's action. ACT.
Action in the world.
First name, by the way, folks, was comprehensive distancing. That was the original name for ACT, which had to do with, well, I'll explain that again, but that wasn't sexy enough, so they renamed it ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. It's done pretty well. not okay. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that still don't know about ACT. Now, but to what Jasmine wrote before, just so folks know, yeah, Phil and I figured out that the main thing was to get the pattern in front of people.
Yeah.
So
we're
not going to leave you guessing. We get that pattern, and then we ask this question. We say, hey, about how much, out of a 24-hour day, about how much time are you spending on the left side stuff, and how much time are you spending on the right side stuff? You don't have to answer that question right now. Just go about your life noticing about how much time you're spending on each side. That's it, folks. That actually most people will come back and tell you about how they're spending more time with family and friends, and stuff like that, i.e. they let go of the struggle,
let go of doing this.
And they're doing stuff that they learn what works.
Over
they
here.
learn that spending time in your family works. Yeah. Spending time with your spouse works. Lots of stuff works if you're let go of the struggle and notice what works and doesn't work.
Oh, never-ending stream of things you can do that work.
I wish I was perfect at that. I really do. However, I'm going to wish that all my life.
Oh, man.
And they ain't going to show up.
There's another one of them traps.
It ain't going to show up, folks. I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and I'm going to start talking myself out of exercising. I'm not kidding, folks. I probably exercise almost every day of my life.
Yeah, I do too.
Almost every day. But
almost every day. Yeah, I don't feel like it. Here I go again, not wanting to do this. Oh, well.
And notice, see, I've learned to accept this.
Yes.
Just accept. So there you go. A little bit of FC, a little bit of that. We'll be back on Monday. We're going to do a little introduction.
Yeah, we'll go back to introductory for those of you that.
And all the kind of stuff that supports the course. So if you sign up to the courses over there.
Help us out.
Help us out. Sign up for July 14th.
July 14th, PTSD.
How to play around with this stuff and get it going with people who have PTSD.
Huh. 9 a.m., 12 p.m.
Now, just because ACT is it says people get stuck, it doesn't mean that people don't actually develop stuff like PTSD and stuff. So they do. And so that will be about how to take people who have PTSD and get them into this mindful process of
loosen them up to get them into the process.
So that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
In the meantime, have a good weekend.
Everybody take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.